Thanks for joining me and Jester as we fly to the target area with Armed Forces Vietnam radio on the ADF. So while we cruise into the area, let's take a moment and talk about why having a myopic focus on dogfighting is, in a way, a waste of time because of two reasons. The first being that dogfighting and air-to-air close-in combat is very uncommon, and the second being that not everybody has the mental structure to visualize it, and that's perfectly freaking okay. To tackle the first topic, I have a histogram from a book, which if you want to know more, you can check it out in the description. I've got a citation in there if you want to read this further. It's a really fascinating topic when you get into it, but the bottom line here is when you look at, in this case, the Korean War, for most U.S. pilots, the vast majority never got a kill. Now remember, these are people who flew exclusively air-to-air missions. They weren't doing close air support, they weren't doing ground attack, they weren't doing interdiction, they weren't doing multi-role stuff. They were exclusively in the theater to shoot down other airplanes. And almost 80% of them got between 0 and half a kill credit. This is an era where radar-guided and infrared-guided missile technology is a figment of military research and development imagination. So what does all that tell you? It tells you that dogfighting as a focus is probably not an efficient use of your time in this game, or really any other, I would think, if you care about building your skill as a pilot overall. Which brings me to the second point, which is that not everybody can visualize the squiggly lines and the descriptions of one circle, two circle, and that kind of thing. A lot of the content on DCS that you see online is oriented to dogfighting, which makes sense. I mean, heck, look at my channel. But the popularity of dogfighting, especially in connection with popular media like Top Gun and the like, still needs to be weighed against the balance of skills that an aviator has to have. And for most of them, as you could see in that chart from earlier, dogfighting is like not even in the top 10 activities that's going to get you far as an aviator in a sustained conflict. Being able to drop bombs at night is a much more important skill in a extended campaign than being able to hit the brakes so that the bandit flies right by. Okay. Case in point, an instructor pilot who flew the F-35 and was talking about his time in that program on the Fighter Pilot podcast recapped how the F-35 was redefining what it meant to be a fighter pilot, because instead of judging the worth of people as, being able to carry a badass mustache and bend the jet at like high G's or whatever to maneuver fight, the deciding criteria for what made a good fighter pilot in the F-35 era is being able to troubleshoot software and being able to manage technology while in the jet, which is a very different and more valuable now skill set than your ability to turn the airplane in a certain way. So I like the fact that he called this out in his story, because one of the things that he pointed out in that podcast too was how he would, as an instructor pilot for the F-15C, have to wash out people who were really good aviators, because you have to be a top-notch aviator to even get to the front door of F-15C primary B course training in the U.S. Air Force. Like, they're not taking scrubs, So you have to be really, really, really good as your job as a pilot to even get that far. And it broke his heart to have to wash out people who were great at everything else, but just could not mentally learn and cog into the three-dimensional situational awareness that you need to manage a multi-airplane dogfight like you would be expected to in the F-15C. And now, of course, with the F-35, that whole paradigm, and in fact now the F-15C in the active duty Air Force is gone, right? So all of this is to say that not being able to picture a dogfight or process what a 1 circle or 2 circle or whatever flow is, that's not a mark against you. And I can see how people who get into DCS and see all this multiplayer dogfighting kind of oriented content can hit a wall trying to understand this stuff and then start feeling like they're the problem, you know. And that's not the case. It just means that you're one of those people who just can't mentally process what that's like, and it doesn't make you a worse person or a worse player or a worse aviator any more than it made those people who got to the F-15B course and had to fly another airplane worse aviators and worse officers and worse pilots. Okay, and further, as I pointed out to at the start of this, being good at picturing a three-dimensional dogfight and having the situational awareness to manage that, that's a pretty dubious value. So don't get so hung up about dogfighting. Try something else in DCS. Take advantage of the sandbox and get good at more things than just the Maverick Kenny Loggins montage stuff. Odds are you'll probably have more fun too. Thanks for tuning in.